Hey everyone, I chose to do my lesson today on TFJ3E course code. That's for grade 11, but it can be used for grade 11 and grade 12s. So basically my lesson is on yeast doughs. So what I'm going to do the day before, specifically our yeast dough is going to be on, the final product will be yeast dinner rolls. So the day before the lesson, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand out to students a worksheet. So basically, day before, they're going to get a worksheet. It's going to look something like this. Okay, it's going to have some questions on it, specifically for a video. So instead of, I'm going to actually do the video at home. So a little bit different. We're going to kind of do a flipped classroom. So while the students go home, they're going to have a YouTube video on what's called the straight dough mixing method. So that's an essential component in making yeast doughs. So instead of showing that video in class, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the students watch the video at home. So they're going to watch this video. It's about a 7-minute video. It's from a culinary college in Arizona where the instructor basically outlines the 7 steps involved in preparing a yeast dough. So I'm basically going to post it on the LMS, and I'm at the public board, so we use Edsby. So I'm going to post a link on Edsby. I'm also going to hand out the worksheet, okay? And they'll have it the day before, and I'll also post the worksheet online. If they want to fill it out online, they can fill it out online. So the students will watch the video and then answer the questions that I've set out on the worksheet in relation to the video. So the next day we'll take that up in class. Okay, so before I start the PowerPoint, I just have a quick little, not discussion, but I put up on the PowerPoint, I'll put what basically the lesson's objectives are, so the students know. So that's written right on the PowerPoint. So for example, since we're doing yeast doughs, the type of questions I'll have on there, for example, are what is yeast? Why is yeast important? What are the types of yeast? What is wheat flour? And then how do we make yeast bread using the straight dough mixing method? So just to review, the straight dough mixing method was a video we did yesterday. After this, I'll tell them the end product. So basically the end product, as I said before, are yeast dinner rolls. So by the end of everything, I'm explaining to them, they're going to learn all about this. And then we will, for our final project to wrap up, we will be making the yeast dinner rolls. I'm going to show them a PowerPoint presentation. Basically, the PowerPoint presentation, they're going to follow along on a PowerPoint. I created some worksheets for them. They're going to answer questions on the worksheets. So basically what this PowerPoint is about, it's kind of like the kind of history or theory behind what a yeast dough is. So they're going to learn what's a type of yeast, what's fermentation, what are the different types of flours and their uses. Okay, so they're going to follow along on that while I present the PowerPoint. And the PowerPoint has some visuals as well. So if we're talking about type of yeast, I'll have a picture of the type of yeast, whether it's active dry yeast or instant yeast. I also created a worksheet for any students with an IEP. So basically the worksheet looks like this. It has the questions, but it also has the answers. Okay, so just like the video I sent yesterday, it has an answer sheet for them to follow along. So basically at this point, I'll know what some IEP students might not need it, but a lot of them really appreciate having the answers there. It just kind of helps them retain the information a little bit better. Okay, once the PowerPoint is done, I'm basically going to refer back to the video that I instructed the students to watch the day before. So instead of just getting right into the questions from the PowerPoint, I like to do a little whiteboard demonstration. So what I would do is I would just, for example, in this case, it's a straight dough mixing method. There's usually 7 steps. So I write down straight dough mixing method and kind of do like a little mind map to kind of see where they are, see if they actually watch the video or not. So I would just kind of list, for example, I take a couple questions, just random questions, and put like, what is the purpose of sugar in the straight dough mixing method? See it, and then see what kind of responses I get. I then probably go on to a question like, why do we not add salt before the flour. Okay, so what this does is it kind of gives me an idea whether they watched the video or not, who watched it, and if they kind of like just kind of understood what was going on. I'd probably pick another question from there. Probably I would ask them, how do we know if gluten has been developed? Okay, so these are just little information tidbits that were inside the video that explain exactly what the straight dough mixing method is. Okay, so after that might take, whatever, around 10 minutes or so. Then I would just go one by one and just ask the questions that were on the video and see, like, basically just answer the question. So instead of watching the video, what I would do before is we would watch the video in class and then they would just answer the questions. This time they got to take it at home. So I would just go through, in this one actually, there's about 6 or 8 questions. I would go through the 8 questions with a class and just answer those questions. And then I would make sure that the questions that they write, the answers that they write down are correct. Okay, so after that's all done, we would now start, I like to kind of do a demonstration in class. So it's usually a practical demonstration of what we're doing. So because we're doing, like I said, we're doing yeast doughs and we're doing yeast bread. On the projector, I would put the recipe up for yeast doughs and specifically the rolls. So then I would just kind of ask the students, okay, what kind of equipment do we need? I'd have a station set up like I do here with my mixer and whatever ingredients I had, and I would just call a student up. So usually what I like to do, sometimes I have students who have really special needs. They really like to be a part of that demonstration, and they'll usually volunteer, and I usually do the demonstration with them. So when I'm doing the demonstration, like I said, recipes on the board, the quantities are there. The student will come up. I'll have a scale, bowls, basically the lab is set up, ready to do the actual recipe. The quantities aren't done, so when the student comes up, they'll actually have to scale out the recipe, and I'll be standing next to them. So this is a recipe that they've never done before, but I'm always with them, and we go step by step. So that usually keeps them pretty engaged. I started something new this year. I'm going to start something new actually, because I realized during last semester when I was doing these labs, so the way my kitchen's set up, it's really, really tight. So there's a little space where I do the lab, and the students, they're kind of like situated, like some of the desks have 6, some of the desks have 4s, but it's kind of a deep classroom. So the students in the back could never see what I was doing in the front. There's kind of like this little mirror that's tilted, kind of like an old like show that you'd watch on TV, where you can the reflection, you can see what's going on. But only the students in the front would pay attention. So this year what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach a webcam actually to the station. So there's like a little rack on top of my station. I'm going to put a webcam there, and that webcam is going to be directly tied to the overhead projector, and then that's going to be able to obviously mirror the image onto the screen. So that's going to be awesome for 2 things. One, everybody's going to be able to see what we're doing in front of the class. And 2, I'll be able to record the presentations. So this is actually a huge thing, because when you have absences, it's one thing to give the students, written information, but they'll also be able to watch the video. So if they're coming into the class, I can say, okay, I always have some spare laptops. I can say, okay, here's what we did yesterday. Just take a quick 5 minutes and watch the method for making whatever it is I'm making. So I'm really excited for that. And then this way, I can even send that through D2L or our EDSB platform for students that miss quite a bit of time, or just for students that need to get a refresher, especially some students with an IEP. This is really a good visual way to carry that forward. Okay, so after the practical presentation is done, the students, I usually pair them in groups of 2 or 3. They're going to go out into the lab. So they'll have access to the recipe. The recipes are all posted online. So all the recipes we use throughout the year, I have a huge recipe book that's linked to Edsby, which is our LMS platform, and the students can access that at any time. So if they're at home, they can access it at home. They can make the recipes with their parents or by themselves. In this case, I put the recipe on the overhead projector so they can see the quantities on the overhead projector, and as well I have a recipe book in the classroom that has all the recipes in a binder. So what they're going to do, they're going to spread out throughout the classroom. Like I said, every station is set up for 3. So the first step, obviously, when you're making a dough is you have to make the dough. So the students will scale out that dough and then wrap it up and put it in the fridge for the next day. The next day, because the dough has to rise, obviously, because the yeast. So the next day I know it's a 75-minute, but I can't do yeast doughs in 75 minutes. So everything's pretty much, all the work is going to be done the first day. And then the next day, all they're going to do basically is scale out the dough, roll it, shape it, and then bake it in the oven. Once that's all done, that lesson is complete. I always give a student a self-reflection form. And that self-reflection form usually is done online. They can submit it online. Sometimes people want to submit it with pen and paper. I let them do in pen and paper. So basically, what this self-reflection does, it shows me what they learned. So on my self-reflection, I have 4 spaces that they can write in. The first one says what they did. So what they did means whether they gathered ingredients with their group, or whether they did a lot of the scaling, or whether they did the rolling. Okay, so it's kind of, I just want to see basically what they did. The next column is what they learned. So that could be anything. It doesn't have to be in depth. You get usually a lot of interesting answers. I always try to say to the students, what you did and what you learned are 2 different things. The next step on the self-reflection is they give themselves a personal assessment. So I base the assessment on, they rate themselves practically out of 5, what they feel, how they performed in the lab. They give me an honest, if they say, sir, I got 5 out of 5, they have to basically justify their score. And as well, there's another 5 points for their written report. So if they feel they did a nice written report, they give me the reasons, and then the next step is for my feedback. So whether I say it's a 10 out of 10, an 8 out of 10, I provide my feedback, and that's pretty much what this lesson is. Thank you.